What's going on, guys? It's Greg from East Coast Dyes, and today we have a review of the new Brine RP3 II Lacrosse head. So for those who don't know, this is the next rendition of the original RP3 head, which I have here. Basic info, it's going to release on 5/20, so coming up a little bit later this month. Not a ton of info has been released, but we have the stat sheet from them and got a chance to play around with it and give it a solid look. So right now I've only seen white ones. I can't guarantee if it's going to come in any colors, but for now it seems like just white. Seems like it's only going to be in the X spec, which is the trend you're going to see most head manufacturers move to as the high school spec kind of dies and most leagues move to X spec heads. They haven't released a price yet. It's up a couple places, but just says $0. You can kind of expect it to be 85 or more. 85 was what the original RP3 started at, and now it's down to around 50. You can probably expect somewhere between 85 and 95 for when this head releases. So this is obviously Rob Pennell's signature head. He had a big hand in designing it, deciding on the features and how it's going to look, and testing it, so you know it's going to be designed more for an attackman. He's one of the best attackmen in the game, really quick release, great shooter, so you know this head is probably going to be designed more for someone like that. So getting into its initial look, it's a good looking head. Brine has done a good job with adding tons of details to these heads, a lot of inserts, cutouts, stuff that's not necessarily functional, but just makes it look a little bit nicer, a little bit high end. You see up here, it's got some lines that kind of look like, the chest of Iron Man or something. They're cool looking. Again, non-performance. A new jewel, new Brine jewel down at the throat, and then an RP3 jewel filling in the side. And just some basic cutaways from the RP3 I, which is here, to the RP3 II. They changed the sidewall strut design just a little bit. So they kept this main one right here, but just switched the direction of this middle one. Didn't have much of a functional change. It does look a little bit better, I think, in my opinion, but overall a very, very similar look. And then has their strategic core tech, which was available in the first RP3, available in the Brine clutch. Nothing new here, but it's just a cutout on the inside that changes the geometry a little bit. It's not my favorite technology. They say it reduces weight without sacrificing strength, but it definitely does sacrifice strength a little bit, but helps reduce the weight. The weight on this head overall is 4.89 ounces, same as the Optic, same as the Superpower. They say that it got lighter from the first one. I only have the high school. This is about 4.5 ounces, the first RP3 for the high school, so it might have been a little heavier for the X, but it definitely got a lot stiffer without being too heavy. I would say this is definitely stiffer than the Superpower Plus, definitely stiffer than the Optic while being the same exact weight, which is really nice. So when it comes to face shape, this is a really interesting face shape, at least I thought, for an attack head. When I first got it, it felt really, really wide. And I didn't know if that was just my eyes playing tricks on me, so I pulled out the calipers and measured it, and over like the Lakota U, it was a full 1/10 of an inch wider down through the throat, which doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're only working with 3 inches and a little bit more down here, it does make a big difference. So you're going to notice when you get it that it is pretty wide in the throat. This can be helpful for attackmen when it comes to catching the ball in tight, but as far as carrying, you'd think you'd want it as narrow as possible, and it's a little interesting they chose to go a little bit wider. So it overall has kind of a defensive vibe to it with the wider throat, which leads to a little bit less pinch and flare, and it's super gradual on the pinch and flare. RP3 definitely likes a lower pocket, so this helps with the lower pocket, but it just looks a little wide overall. So it's not my favorite face shape in the game, but if you're a guy that tends to like wider heads, this might be a really good decision for you. The big technology they've added here is this Very Flex insert. You saw the introduction of this technology with the Brine Clutch 4, the newest one, where you had this different material through the throat. Well, here they took it up and put this bar through the scoop, and they've exposed it through these scoop holes, so you can see it goes, probably just runs like here to here. It certainly doesn't go all the way through the head, but it's this bar of a different material that is supposed to be better in different weather conditions and help keep the head stiffer when it's hot. So this bar is more rigid, and it's going to keep the head and the scoop a little bit stiffer, which is help you a little bit with accuracy if you can keep the head stiffer while you're shooting, and especially when heads turn into a noodle when it gets really, really hot. So this is something that Rob really wanted, was a head that was going to be consistent and accurate. The head's really stiff, and the scoop seems relatively stiff. I don't know that it feels any stiffer than any other scoop on a regular Lacrosse head. And I had heard a couple rumblings of the Brine Clutch 4 breaking where the Very Flex was, but it looks like it's pretty well molded in there. There's no cracks or anything. They've had some problems with dual shot in the past, but a lot of people originally thought this was a stringing function. It's not for stringing at all. I think they just did that so you could literally see the technology and have those taller top string holes so you can see the bar going through it. So it's a cool idea. I can't really feel too much difference when passing and shooting or just feeling the head, but it might make a big difference when it gets really hot out. It's hard to tell right now. So as far as stringing, this head strung up really easily. I strung it up with a Lizards color theme in honor of RP3, and just went for a mid-low pocket that seemed like something that he would really like to play with in this head. As I mentioned before, it's got a really wide face shape, so that lets you pull the mesh down really far and really tight to get a nice channel. And the face shape was pretty good for stringing. The lack of a really aggressive pinch and flare made it really easy to get a nice, smooth, gradual channel without running into being too tight and having to make the pocket too high, which I really liked. As far as the string holes, pretty much every head, there's nothing to complain about. On string holes these days, most people have figured it out. Top ones are plenty big, there's plenty down the side, and the tops are very evenly spaced. So it's not very common to find a head that doesn't have well-placed string holes at this point in time. I guess, like people said, you could string a triangle top string over that VariFlex insert, which might look kind of cool. I wanted to keep it basic for this one, but that might be something you guys want to try at home. Probably my favorite thing about the stringing was these really widely spaced bottom string holes, which make it really easy to do a bottom string when the throat's wide. If they're tight, it kind of tends to bunch the mesh awkwardly, and I liked how the string holes kind of matched the width down here at the throat. They have some inserts, kind of some cutaways in the string holes on the inside. I don't know exactly what these are for, probably just a little weight savings because I didn't find that they were advantageous at all for stringing. So overall, really great stringing experience. Didn't have any problems, and it would probably string a really good pocket for most guys who like a mid to mid-low to low attackman / offensive pocket. So overall, I think this is a really great idea. I really like how they moved from the first RP3, which I found to be kind of unremarkable and seemed almost exactly like the Brine clutch when it released, to this one, which has a unique face shape to most heads, and some unique features like this VariFlex insert. So depending on what the price is, I think it's definitely a recommend for this summer season coming up for you attackmen out there who think they might like this. So thanks for watching, guys. Make sure to like if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't. Have a great day.